Reggae music's rocking my bones. My bones. It's reggae music more and more. And more. Yes, my soul. Reggae music's rocking my bones. My bones, it's never getting old. Reggae music's more and more and more. I think all your generation, into my heart and my keys and my passion, into my heart and my sleep for the glory. You must be my love, but you for foundation. But I don't know you are still giving me
Wait, no contra más light. Agua buena.
It's just another day for you and me in paradise. Oh, paradise. It's just another day for you and me in paradise.
This is my business now. It's going to be what about entry? All right, you gotta go.
No, we just wanted to see it from where you are. Kind of a few steps back.
Look, good morning. Can I think into the
I can even be temporarily.
Rombo not no. Then you go and deliver for cheap person.
Okay. However you want to.
And no, to talk with that, I don't need to point.
No, that's all. It's ready. I wanted you to have a feel. But Papa just satisfied. Let's just duplicate. Right.
chaque sauvage.
Oh,
Wow, let's put our hands together for our bands. Well done, you are doing extremely well. We appreciate you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to day 3 of our Research, Innovation, and Industrialization Week. So far, so good. Our proceedings are going on very smoothly. If you were here from day 1, I'm sure you'll agree with me that the standard, is escalating by the day. As we move on with our program, allow me to acknowledge the presence of our acting Vice Chancellor, Academic Affairs, who is also the Executive Director of Quality Assurance and Professional Development, Professor Janda. I want to also acknowledge the presence of the Executive Director, Research and Innovation, who is the main reason why we are here. We appreciate you, ma'am. And then allow me to acknowledge the presence of Church Council, our librarian, the deans here present, our colleagues from other universities, directors of institute, chairpersons of department, and most importantly, our students, the innovators, the drivers of tomorrow's industry. We welcome you. A special welcome also goes to those that are joining us online. We appreciate you. Just as a quick reminder, ladies and gentlemen, our theme for the 2022 Research, Innovation, and Industrialization Week is University of Zimbabwe Actualization of Research, Innovation, Industrialization Ecosystem Model for Zimbabwe's economic development. Each day we have a theme, and the theme, or rather the sub-theme for today is Emerging Disease and Disease Intelligence. To get us started this morning, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to kindly invite the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences, Professor Aaron Fernandez, to come and give us welcome remarks.
Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me probably start by just reading a message which was sent to me yesterday by my wife. I will elaborate later. No, you are still very early. It was still very early during the day. She said, "And not Samantha, this is our daughter. Samantha is our 3-year-old granddaughter, my 3-year-old. So, Tikati, Rex, Rex, right? It doesn't mean that. You can't see Rex Matanga come here. Yeah, right. Then when you ask the enemy, he will tell you I'm Samantha Masangani. I make 3-year-old, right? She's going to preschool. Let me start by recognizing the executive of the university, Professor Omakumo Nasentia, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Kanda, the Executive Director of Education Innovation, Professor Mkambanengo, the librarian, Professor Solomon, our acting registrar, Dr. Malari, the best man in our center, deans of faculties, professors, innovators, participants, lecturers, visible and invisible audience. It is quite interesting. Yes, that text, like I just read it, and it's very interesting to see that what you can feed into a 3-year-old, she can actually regurgitate it out and give meaning to it. Because when you look at it, she knows that one name, there's no identity. Some of them are like the pan. But I'm right, everyone the Rex. You know, how often the Rex Masangani. But the 3-year-old, and the university, under the leadership, is trying to address what people want. And probably can be honest. But that is like a whole order. Because how will we know what people want? I come from Masvingo. I use Masvingo biking roads very frequently. And I was talking to Zimbabweans, noble Zimbabweans, not just ordinary Zimbabweans, saying, because we come from the same home. And I say, it's wonderful. Now you can go home and actually, put your car on auto whatever, and it will fly at 160. And I was amazed when that person said, wait until 5 years, that road will not be there. And my God, attitude. And I'm seeing a wonderful development. Others are not seeing a wonderful development. So what do they want? So I say, why are you saying that? He says, but the constructors, they have no track record. What I wrote, okay, this name is from industry may be connected to the contractor who used to make roads, who did not win the tender this time. So what does this mean? Why? He wants money to be inside. And over. So it's not the good road. No, it's money to be inside. When you are talking of emerging disease, whose diseases are they? Whose life are they threatening? No. They are not sinners. When you look at COVID, we were so alarmed in the health sector on how we are going to cope with the perceived disaster. But to be honest, the number of deaths with COVID related during that time, at the peak of the epidemic, were not comparable to the usual TB related, malaria related deaths. So whose bomb were we playing? And many times you find that being in an unfortunate situation, when you are lagging behind, you chase someone's interests all the time. You never define yours. Your destination is defined by someone else. If you look at the list of priority emerging diseases, very little discussion about what's happening here. We know as health providers in Zimbabwe that cancers are on the increase. But what are we doing about it? Is that not an emerging disease within Zimbabwe context? Answer, it is. Should we not be concerned? We must be concerned. Because even treatment for cancer is not readily available. So these are some questions, which we should try to interrogate as we enjoy the presentation. I'm not answer the presentation. I'm just trying to put on the table things which we need to think about as we enjoy the presentation. Things which we are able to interrogate and say to ourselves, how will we solve our current Zimbabwean problem? Remember, we are what we eat. And herbs have been provided for food. And we know that without food, you don't have food. If you eat junk, it's junk in, junk out. And it's true, right? The answers are there for us. We can look at nature. If you go, you happen to be near forest, where there's a lot of baboons, but never have I seen a baboon. Never have I heard baboons being vaccinated or immunized. Never have I heard baboons talking about a disease intelligence, a violent disease. And that includes nothing. If we don't study nature, then it means we cannot have the millions of it. I think it's important for us to look at it that way. And also remember that at the moment, what Zimbabwe wants is driven by the media. What people watch at the end of the day, and feel at the end of the day, is what they believe, what they want all the time. So with those welcoming remarks, I want to welcome you, physical audience and invisible audience, to this standards occasion where we are enjoying this presentation today. And more so the fact that we are talking about imaging, reimaging, diseases, and disease. Otherwise, I would like to thank you very much, Mr. David Register, for the time which you have given me, and I wish everyone well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Mzanganize. When you go home, please say hi to Bex. Right, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on with our program. Next is a session that I am actually been looking forward to. Especially the 9:40 session, which is going to be guided by Prof. Matoke, consistent with the question, what do our people want? This is the section dealing with allow me to be upfront at a personal level. What do our people want? What I want personally, we don't know January. And I hope that when you come, I will be smiling at the end of the session. 2020, anything that with a lot of rain. 25 models of mine were attacked by general disease. 25. 5 succumbed. They died. So this is the real challenge to me. We're a communal GP, and over and above that, I do my own spraying, but still, I suffer this challenge. So it is my favorite hope, Prof. Matope, that at the end of this block, this session, I will be smiling at the end of the room. So on that note, let me put you on the hot seat, Prof. Matangani, I call Prof. Matope. Let's put our hands together. As we come forward to provide a solution. I know you will let us down. Over to you, Prof. I can tell from the confidence which is moving here the solutions.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies, Dr. Madambi, who is our acting registrar. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to recognize the Vice Chancellor of the University of Zimbabwe, Professor Mafumo, in absentia. Allow me to recognize the presence of the acting Pro-Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, who is also the Executive Director, Quality Assurance and Professional Development, Professor Chipot Granda. Allow me to recognize the Executive Director of Research and Innovation, Professor Florence Tambanengwe, the librarian, Dr. Chikondo, the Besa in absentia. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mangwanani. Notenda. Allow me to start my presentation by saying we are all farmers. So what brings us all here is that we are farmers, lives of farmers, one way or the other. If we have the 5 million head of cattle, we are all cattle farmers. Maybe we call a cow somewhere out there. So we are all farmers. What brings us here is that we want to talk livestock farming and what we want as farmers. We want increased livestock productivity first and foremost, so that we make a living out of our livestock. That's what we desire. That's what we cherish as the people of this beautiful nation. Our theme is One Health, Emerging Diseases and Disease Intelligence. I will not repeat what the chair said about the One Health and Emerging Diseases. But in terms of disease intelligence, I think we are spot on. We are speaking to what our people want, because they want the animals that are healthy, animals that are productive. Our specific topic for the day is towards sustainable livestock production, and why our livestock still succumbing to ticks and tick-related diseases. This is a very fundamental question, a question that is two-pronged. The why bit of the question Thank you. I'm reminded that we have, we are going out of bounds a little bit too fast. So I think allow me to call the next presenter before we move on to this issue on lives of diseases. The next presenter is the colleague, specialist in community medicine. Is going to give us a brief presentation. Brief, as I say, brief, it can be 1 hour. A brief presentation on antimicrobial resistance. And this is none other than Dr. Chirenda from the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences. Allow me to welcome Dr. Chirenda for a presentation on antimicrobial resistance. Let's give him a round of applause.
Good evening. Allow me to acknowledge the Vice Chancellor of the University of Zimbabwe, Dr. Former. And I was reminded by the master ceremony that I do not have 40 minutes, but I have 20 minutes. So I will humbly request that I write on the protocol so that I start with my the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, he says, and I quote, we chase someone interested. This session was supposed to be shared with several people, and then in the wisdom of my colleagues, they said, no, you're going to present alone. So I know them. So if I'm stuck, I'll just invite some of those people to speak on my behalf. So I will briefly go through the background of antimicrobial resistance, the public health response, as guided by the WHO, the coordination mechanism. I was hoping this point on coordination mechanism will be done by the Minister of Health, but I'll briefly, instead of discussing the coordination mechanism, I'll briefly discuss the recommendations in terms of what the WHO recommends coordination of antimicrobial resistance for a successful response to antimicrobial resistance. And then I'll briefly touch on Zimbabwe's response and how I think we could break the barrier and end by key recommendations. I do not expect a lot of questions because this is the section where we're supposed to be practiced. But anyway, in terms of definition, antimicrobial resistance is actually a key imaging those diseases that we were not okay, but they are presenting again in different form. In this case, that causes drug-resistant infections become less effective. They can be naturally occurring, so it means that they can be found in people, animals, food, plants, the environment, that is water, soil, and air. So if we have to respond adequately to antimicrobial resistance, it means we need to address all those areas where we find antimicrobial resistance: water, the soil, the environment, etc. And then it can also be acquired. Now, our response tends to be targeted at acquired antimicrobial resistance. Antimicrobial and overuse of antimicrobial, especially in the misuse, especially in the agricultural sector. And I'm happy Prof. Matope will address that in the next session to come.
The key drivers of antimicrobial resistance remain lack of access to clean water, sanitation, hygiene, commonly with ability to wash, inadequate infection disease control. Now, I always argue with my colleagues on the first driver, the lack of clean water, sanitation, and hygiene. When we have the cholera in the area, one of the key recommendations, and I'm now going back to what my team said, checking other people's interests. One of the recommendations that was proposed to was that let's vaccinate people against cholera. Okay. Yes, address cholera by providing clean water and ensuring good hygiene. If you look at the cost of vaccine, even if the actual vaccine is connected, we need to train people to give vaccine, we need vehicles, we need people. There's a lot more that we need vaccinated people against COVID. The cost of that is probably more than the cost of just providing clean water and sanitation. The next driver is poor access to quality, affordable medicines and vaccines and diagnostics, lack of awareness and knowledge and enforcement of legislation. In terms of the global burden of antimicrobial, so you will see, you look at that circle, it shows that Africa has got the largest burden of antimicrobials, as you find out later on in the presentation. What they use to try the burden of disease, because in Africa, with so many problems, with malnutrition, with other infections, the burden of infections is higher in Africa. So we tend to be more than the other part of the world. If you look at the left, that highlighted area, it's basically so that sub-Saharan Africa, there's a least usage of antibiotics, and yet we are categorized as a continent with the highest burden of antimicrobial resistance. We'll discuss that later. In terms of the top 6, E. coli and Staphylococcus are common in developed countries. Klebsiella pneumonia and Staph pneumonia are common in Africa and low-income countries. So this is respiratory disease. Tend to get it from colleagues who have infection, and we generally consider it poverty. Okay. You can see that there's no TB there, which is very common in low-income countries. So why should we bother about antimicrobial resistance? The SDG 3 requires that we have a healthy life and promote well-being for all the citizens, all ages. And specifically target 3.3 that by end of 2020, we should end the epidemics in AIDS, neglected tropical disease, combat hepatitis, and other communicable diseases. And as you may know, the Constitution of Zimbabwe makes health as a fundamental human right. So we need to, if we think antimicrobial resistance is a burden to our country, it will affect the well-being of people. We need to address it. The MDF1, National Development Strategy 1, one of its targets is to promote quality plant and improve climate system. Now, antimicrobials are that are not difficult to treat. So once you get it, one, the drugs are toxic, two, they're expensive, three, probably will not survive. Concept that you probably may have underlying infections or so it is important to address antimicrobial disease. In terms of the hospital, the disability and just the likeness, for those who know TB,
when you use the treatment with kanamycin for 6 months, you end up dead for life. And of course, the high mortality that has got with antimicrobial resistance in my graph area on the African continent, most people are dying from antimicrobial resistance. And of course, the increase does not mean that if you get a that for the trees, you can transmit it, transmit it to Dr. Madam. If they're sitting next to each other, Dr. Madam, you know, shooting on it months.
Thanks for the gentle.
The economic burden of antimicrobial resistance. It's, you know, most young people are economically active are the ones who tend to get infected with this virus, and they tend to die early. It affects the economic growth of the country, the actual cost of the new drugs that we have to use. The cost of the drug development. We know that in terms of drug development, there are very few antimicrobials that are in the pipeline for the new needs. What does it mean? It means we will continue to get antimicrobial disease affecting our population. Even in our setting, we are not investing in drug development. Also resulted in terms of chemical remedies, which may be effective against it, but we are not there yet. The issue of globalization, look at COVID. When within a month after being in peak, it was affecting almost all continents. So does not matter whether the antimicrobial diseases are common in developed countries or in low income countries, they'll still affect everyone else because of the globalization. What has been the community public response antimicrobial disease? I'm going through this when you discuss coordination, you understand what I'm trying to say. In terms of the complexities of antimicrobial resistance, it also requires innovative response, public response. Remember, I was saying, environment, the soil, and water. So the actual response does not require millions of dollars alone. It requires everyone through the one approach, which is session. We need colleagues from bed science, colleagues from environment, from agriculture, and essentially, I think we need people, colleagues from behavioral sciences as well. And then the other key was the development of new drugs, which we are not doing. At the global level, I will not dwell much on this. At the global level, they set up a lot of committees and structures to coordinate and implement antimicrobial resistance. What have we done in terms of Zimbabwe? Zimbabwe has got a One Health National Action Plan on antimicrobial resistance, part of the One Health package. The key objectives were adopted from the Global National Action Plan on antimicrobial resistance. What have we done so far in the country? They did an analysis which documented the burden of antimicrobial resistance, recognized the high burden of other infectious diseases that may not be drug resistant, and proposed members of the core group. Now, members of the core group are mainly sector chaired by coordinated by Minister of Health, and mentioned it doesn't say academic institution. It says investors. So I know that some of the culprits, my colleague culprits are in this room, so I will ask them questions later on. They actually got funding from the planning fund, which is probably the only funding that that is supporting the National Action Plan on
In terms of research, the contemporary cholera outbreak that occurred in 2008 was due to a drug-resistant cholera bug. They also noted the challenges with salmonella. It's used to respond to simple medicine. It won't even respond to the simple compassion. They noted the old studies on API and etc. Of course, the anti-MDRT that's was done in 2015. Do we have coordination gaps in Zimbabwe? Yes, it's a multi-sectoral surveillance system. It's a multi-sectoral field, but in terms of surveillance system, only limited to Ministry of Health. If I've got colleagues from Best Finance, they may be doing a lot of surveillance on antimicrobial resistance. I'm not sure how much it's changed. If we have colleagues from environmental, Ministry of Environmental environments, they may be doing some specific coordination with that multi-sectoral surveillance, generate robust data. It's mainly donor funded with minimal donation financing. The raw quality of national core group is not there, and there is no same communication. If we look at the communication between core groups, anyone would know the number of cases that were treated, would know how many patients died. That kind of vaccine communication is not available. What are some of the barriers to improving antimicrobial stewardship? At the patient and level, I think the high cost of medicine, the limited antimicrobial resistance, our levels are not able to counter each and every sample, at least in a proportion of samples to peak diseases that may actually be drug resistant. The current practices that in antimicrobial prescribing, at the moment, it's even going to the pharmacy, you can buy amoxicillin over the counter. You don't need it. I think COVID allows that patients could buy antibiotics from pharmacies. The COVID package, doxycycline, azithromycin, and the patient. So we are actually moving in the opposite direction to controlling antimicrobial. And of course, the limited diagnostic capabilities that we have in this country. At the policy level, I think the challenge is to do with the antimicrobial resistance. It's not only cholera, it's not people cholera, it's not only salmonella, it's not only TB, but there are a whole lot of organisms that are now resistant to medicine. So it becomes difficult to ensure that everyone is coordinated. And then the issue of data challenge issue relates to the access of data to the core group, the sharing of data to the core group. I mean, when I was preparing this presentation, I requested for documents from the coordinator of the AMR group, and it was I only got the documents after the question from the ISO. So that's the kind of challenge that the barriers that also at policy level, the choice of methodology to estimate AMR failure. So we don't know to what extent do we have with AMR a problem in our country. Why? Because we don't know how to estimate. All the paper that you read, we don't actually quantify to say the extent of typhoid resistance is so much by these countries. So it's a problem to then coordinate a topic which is not well understood. And of course, the limited donation funding that I can see Prof. Matov and the director of telling me, but
they took my time, so I'll finish up. How to break the barriers? Our sector ministries are properly to coordinate antimicrobial resistance. Did we say Minister of the Health to coordinate antimicrobial resistance, or did we say Minister of Agriculture, or should we say the academia? I mean, we know that the benefits in developed countries are run by academic institutions. Because of that, they are very efficient, and you know you put the data at the right time that you want to use. Right? Can we work in committees working that are well defined clear roles and responsibilities? Can we ensure that the communication links all stakeholders so that it's not data free to the one-year committee or one-year technical working group alone, but it's data that everyone needs to know. Can we include other stakeholders like farmers? We know farmers are the ones who are also clearly antimicrobial resistant from the agricultural sector. Can we include them in the core group? So what are some of the characteristics of functional national coordinating groups? They must be political support. The current recommendation that means of the office, but the possibility that leadership, so that we have a good mix of ideas from other ministries, or it could be interministerial operating overtakes from each state authorities. And I think this we observe in court. It was not Minister of the Health in court response. It was being led by the interministerial committee, and because of that, the results were available, and communication with the public knew exactly what was happening at every stage. The committee must be authorities to act, and they must be accountable. In what way they must explain. Okay, they must be dedicated funds so they must be dedicated funds to ensure that that committee is functional, and they must be a secretary that supports the committee, and they must be sustaining communication. So those are the characteristics of a good coordinating non-sectoral antimicrobial resistance. And I can assure you that these things are not there. The only funding that they have is from planning fund. There is the main plan. What are the recommendations that was about? I think we need to define the coordination function. Broaden the stakeholders, include farmers, committee members, people who are using antibiotics or who are misusing or overusing antibiotics as committee members and farmers, but they're not represented in the current coordination group. Not facilities, both private and public. The refugee care centers, remember, some of these infections are transmitted through migration. So we need to include the refugee care centers, media personnel, those who manufacture medicines and professional bodies. Fund coordination activities, financing. Recommendation to policy, like I said, let's define the terms of reference, develop a data repository, knowledge sharing mechanism, similar to the one that we use for COVID. If I had a choice, I would make antimicrobial resistance worse than COVID. It's a worse pandemic than COVID because it's something that we need. We need to regularly review the plan and budgets, introduce domestic funding. Activities that promote, we take activities that promote the government's AMR. Because people in agriculture need to take more. Ensure functional technical working groups and develop a dashboard of activity outcomes that is updated, that is shared, that everyone within the committee is able to access and share monitoring evaluation for. I'm almost finished. We need to prioritize antimicrobial research, integrate biomedical science, social and behavioral science, take the combinational response. When I was walking around the exhibition, I went to one of the
paper on April and what was happening in April during the COVID pandemic. And when I read the abstract, I said, why are you not sharing this findings with the health sector? Because it will inform the response. Excellent findings. So I think we need to include social findings when we do our research. And develop very platforms for EMA used to be to know in terms of the culture and we don't have the capacity to do that. So let's to collectively develop innovative platforms for data sharing and so my message, rate of AMR is greater than all the pandemics. We all have a role to play in improving the response. Maybe let's start with academic institutions. Develop an institute that includes vet science, the part of medicine, agriculture, social science. These are just examples, but the reason to take them. So we demonstrate how we can coordinate response to antimicrobials and then use that model to recommend government that this is how we should do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chirenda. I think that was a mouthful. I would not attempt to summarize your presentation in the interest of time, but you walked us through the definition of antimicrobial resistance. You walked us through in posing a very fundamental question, whether it's our problem or it's someone else's problem. Then you took us through a whole range of issues, including what we brought about the AMR and also the public health response, the progress that we have made as a nation to combat the AMR, and you talked about the need for coordination. Lastly, you made recommendations in terms of setting up the Public Health Institute responsible for coordinating. Let's give him a round of applause for the people. Thank you very much. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, I allow one or two persons, quick questions, comments, contributions from the floor. We need a roving mic, or any question on AMR. There's one there with a roving mic.
May I have two students to run with the mics, please? Two young men. Normally I don't use ladies because of oh, you can. Oh, lovely.
So, thank you very much for insightful, eye-opening presentation. So, my first question is that you mentioned that, and according to studies, that about 2/3 of antimicrobials are being used in the agricultural sector. And from my understanding, there are countries like Sweden and Namibia. They actually developed policies that they banned the use of antimicrobials, antibiotics in agriculture for health promotion. So my question is there any policy in Zimbabwe restricting the use of antibiotics in the agricultural sector? Then second, you mentioned that also that we are not investing in new antibiotics. And from my understanding is that the pharmaceutical companies would rather develop drugs really like for chronic disease, hypertension. So one of the reasons why we're not investing in new antibiotics is that it is not profitable them compared to other drugs like diabetes and hypertension. So my question is, how can you motivate pharmaceutical companies to invest more in new antibiotics? Thank you. Thank you very much. Maybe we can take one more before we allow Dr. Kurega to respond.
There's one there.
Thanks so much, Dr. Chirenda, for that very splendid talk. Mine is a comment. I'm one of those culprits you mentioned who are in the committee of Ministry of Health, perhaps for the past 10 or 15 years. But I just want to go back to what the young man just said over there. The huge progress in terms of antimicrobial treatment and the shift for drug companies. It's going to be more for biologicals, meaning that there will be more less and less use of traditional antibiotics and monoclonal antibodies. So I just wanted you to reflect also in your talk to think about most of your talk, which was excellent, was perhaps based on just the definition of antimicrobial, looking at bacterial antimicrobials. But there's also a huge problem of resistance of antivirals. And this is where the topic is going, because even in Zimbabwe, there are a lot of people who are on antivirals, and we need an entry point of measuring resistance at community level, because it impacts negatively because of epidemic control. So yeah, I wanted to touch on those, because monoclonal antibodies are really going to be the key in the block in the next 10 years because of the placement of the traditional antibiotics. And they become all they also include development of vaccines for the same bugs that we're talking about. It would be interesting to the audience to know even something like syphilis. We're not going to be treating with antibiotics, we're going to be covered with vaccines. So there is a whole range of movement towards vaccines to eliminate the antimicrobial resistance. But thank you so much for your splendid talk.
Thank you very much. At this point in time, allow me to call Dr. Chirenda to respond or make comments. Get the road in mind.
Thank you for the excellent comments and questions, colleagues. Yes, I think the question, so when I submitted after I requested that we have colleagues from Ministry of Agriculture, baseline, so that they will be in this room and they're able to answer some of those excellent questions that they answered within the whole section. You're not allowed to just buy an answer and that's a restriction. That's why I think we are going in the opposite direction, because now anyone can go to a pharmacy and buy an antibiotic. So the policies are there, but they're not enforced. One of the barriers I mentioned was that lack of enforcement of the existing policy in terms of controlling use and overuse of antibiotics. So the policies are there. They may not be adequate, but they are there, and they are not being enforced. In terms of investing in motivating pharmaceutical companies to this is the model for which we'll take it in our to discuss how do we motivate. The first question is, do we have enough pharmaceutical companies to manufacture of antibiotics in our setting? Yes, we have human behavior, but they just manufacture medicines that are fast moving with quick returns. And we rely mainly on external pharmaceutical companies for that. So it's a question that we need at the policy level in terms of how we motivate our own. I will throw it back. One of my recommendations was that for academic institutions like ourselves, why can't we use the develop antimicrobials? So we can, if there is some form of seed funding, to support that kind of research. No one is going to fund it for us because we will be competing with them. So we need to do it on our own. So excellent question. I think Prof. Chireng, thank you for the question. Yes, the issue of monoclonal antibodies and what they refer to as immunotherapy is gaining not only in HIV, but there's a whole lot of research now on how to use monoclonal antibodies to treat MDR. And I think we're one of the folks that we are trying to do this in our statement. So yes, that's the new avenue that we are taking. And then my talk was on antimicrobials and the antimicrobials, I assume even antiviral, antifungal, and are part of the antimicrobial. We know HIV vaccine is becoming a problem in our setting. That's why we keep changing now and then. Thank you to your organization for supporting the terms of HIV. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we give him another round of applause? Thank you. In the interest of time, I think we move on to the next session with our presentation. The session on the livestock sector. The next topic, ladies and gentlemen, is on towards sustainable livestock production and why livestock still succumbing to ticks and tick-borne diseases in the 21st century. Like I said earlier on, the question is two-pronged. The question is there's a question, right? The why each of the question is posed from a farmer's perspective. Why are our animals dying, or why do they continue to die of ticks and tick-related diseases in the 21st century? The Faculty of Veterinary Science and its partners in animal health are saying, no, we have begun a journey towards sustainable livestock production for Vision 2030. Essentially, that's what we are saying. So to look at this very interesting presentation, we have two presenters. One presenter is coming from the Directorate of Veterinary Services. The Directorate is rebranded, no longer the department, but the Directorate of Veterinary Services. And under it, we have three departments: Department of Veterinary Technical Services, Department of Veterinary Field Services, Department of Pest and Trypanosomiasis Control. From the Directorate of Veterinary Services, we have the Dr. Reverend Mogut Sabo, who is coming to give us a presentation on the current status of ticks and tick-borne diseases in the country, and he is representing the Chief Director of the Directorate of Veterinary Services, Dr. Joseph Nika. So at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to call Dr. Reverend Sabo to give his next presentation.
Thank you, Prof. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So I'll be presenting on the cheekbone disease situation in Zimbabwe. I'm representing the chief director, Dr. Nika, from the Department of Veterinary Services. Just waiting for the IT team to begin the presentation. Excuse me. As we wait for the IT, can we have the panelists in front? I
Sorry, sir.
kindly request that the panelists for this session come and sit in front. Thank you, Dr. Professor. Sorry. Thank you. So just for the background, I'll probably be talking about the importance of the livestock industry in Zimbabwe. So in Zimbabwe, we have 65% of the country's rural households depending on livestock for their livelihood. And this livestock sector is very important for food security and food nutrition. And with the changes that we have made in the country recently, 90% of the livestock in Zimbabwe is now in the hands of the communal farmers. So we have all our livestock sector now, 90% of it in the A1 farmers, communal resettlement, and small scale farmers. But in these communal settings, the farming system still remains persistent, where we are having low input, low technology, and this has, in a way, stagnated the growth of the livestock sector. So the challenges that the livestock sector is facing include poor nutrition, poor genetics, and chief among them is animal diseases. So to address these challenges that are bedeviling the livestock sector, the government put in place a plan, the livestock growth plan for 2020 to 2025 to try and address those challenges that the livestock sector was facing. And chief among them, as I have mentioned, is animal diseases, and in particular, tick-borne diseases. Those tick-borne diseases in Zimbabwe, they account for about 67% of cattle deaths annually. So that's a huge problem that we have. So to address that, the livestock growth plan seeks to address issues to do with tick-borne disease control, which is construction and rehabilitation of systems, and also the provision of acaricides for the dipping process. So under Vision 2030, agricultural sector is in place as the center of the economic recovery, and the livestock sector is part of that. Now to touch a bit on the history of the control of tick-borne disease in Zimbabwe, the first clinic in Zimbabwe was constructed or is believed it was constructed in 1910, and then by 1940, just 2 years later, we had about 215 people across the country. And what necessitated the construction of Egypt was the introduction of East Coast fever from Eastern Africa. We had a devastation outbreak of winter pest in Southern Africa in 1897, and that kind of wiped out most of the livestock. So in the restocking process, livestock was being imported from Eastern Africa, and that eventually also resulted in the importation of East Coast feed, which is a deforestation before proliferated disease of cattle. So to address this, that's when the Egyptian was constructed, and this was made mandatory in 1940. And 40 years down the line, they managed to eradicate, or we managed to eradicate East Coast fever, which had been imported from East Africa. But as you can see, it took 40 years. So it's not an overnight thing for us to eradicate a disease of this nature. Then currently, we have about 4,000 districts across the country and 100 spray races, of which 90% of the districts that we have are using honey trust as the acaricide of choice, and then the remaining 10% are on delta method. Then the choice of acaricide that we use the acaricide of choice with delta methane, and then for the rest of the country, we will have certified with the use honey trust. So as a country, we have adopted an integrated tick-borne disease control strategy, which combines, vaccination of animals against tick-borne disease and reducing of animals to kill the tick vector. And of late, we have a new strategy that has been developed. I think it will be discussed later, but this also has been adopted in the country. Then in terms of the dipping strategies in the country, what we normally do is that we dip animals once a week in summer, and then twice or once fortnight in winter. This is based on the tick challenge. We were saying in summer, we have a high tick challenge, and in winter, we have a low tick challenge. So this is what we then term strategic GP program or model. So the model basically seeks to try and achieve exotic stability in the population. And by exotic stability, we mean that we will be having it's an epidemiological state of the population in which we have a genetic balance between the pathogen and the host. So we'll be having the infection circulating within the population, but so that will help the population to self-convey or to be immune against the tick, but not high enough levels to cause disease. So it's a very delicate dynamic or state of events where we are having little tick challenge affecting the animal and not causing a lot of disease in the animal. So the problem with the dipping system that we are having and the strategies that we are having is that once there is any disruption in the control plant, we end up having, a massive outbreak, because if we don't maintain that in the stabilities, by over dipping, our animals become naive, and when there is any challenge, then we have a big problem. So going on to talk about the exotic stability and the disruption of the national dipping programs, we have had incidents or occasions where the dipping program has been disrupted, and that has led to serious repercussions in the livestock sector. For example, in the late 1970s, due to the liberation struggle, the war of the liberation struggle, the dipping system was prepared or disrupted, and that led to death of almost 1 million cattle due to tick-borne diseases. So again, in the season of 2017-2018, recently, we again had another serious disruption in the deeping program. So once we have the serious disruption in the deeping program, we have a lot of chicks that in the obviously have a lot of tick-borne diseases now affecting our animals and causing deaths. So 2017, 2018 season again, we had another serious disruption of the deeping program, but this time it was now due to the economic situation where we could not get foreign currency to import the active ingredients for the acaricide. And this led to about 10% of the national head succumbing to tick-borne disease. And the COVID pandemic also worsened the situation because the turnout, the details was greatly affected. So this is just to show the TB cases and death, tick-borne disease cases and deaths that have occurred over the last 5-6 years. So that can clearly show that during the 2017-2018 season, we had that upstage of tick-borne disease. We had a lot of cases and deaths, and that initially was started. It started as a result of lack of acaricide. Then in the 2018-2019 season, we had an improvement in the acaricide supply, the technical supply, but still we continue to have problems with our tick-borne disease, because probably we now had a lot of ticks in the environment, and the ticks had a high infection rate of the pathogen. Maybe just to talk about the 4 main tick-borne diseases that affect us in Zimbabwe. Chief among them is Theileriosis, or commonly known as January disease. This one is actually wiped out a lot of cattle in Zimbabwe. And this major outbreak again started in 2017 due to the breakdown of our deeping system. And it started in Goromondi and Mondorongezi, which were traditionally Theileriosis areas. And then it then spread to affect 6 of the 8 rural provinces in Zimbabwe, save for Matabeleland provinces. So only North South and North North were spared. But late 2021, we had Matabeleland South being also affected, and this could be traced to illegal cattle movement that resulted in the spread of the disease. So the other problem that we had in Theileriosis was that it was having a high case fatality, which was approximately about 60%. And this problem we said was due to late reporting and poor case management. Because once you report late that your animals are suffering from Theileriosis, treatment would not be successful. We had a lot of farmers complaining that the drugs are not working, but sometimes it was purely due to the fact that the disease was being reported late, and also that underdosage of the drug. Then another outbreak that we had again in 2017-2018 was of heart water. This one, which is the vector, the Amblioma variegatum and Amblioma ebrium. And again, we are having a problem with this disease, the fact that the ticks are now, traditionally, Amblioma ebrium was just found in the southern part of the country, but now it's actually spreading across the country. The reason why it's spreading like that is mainly due, in part, to climate change, and again, to wildlife and livestock movement. Because in Zimbabwe, normally livestock should not be moved if they are tick infested. So once we have people moving animals that are tick infested, that again disrupts or changes the distribution pattern. Just to go through the other 2 parts quickly, is that we have babesiosis, commonly known as red water, and then we have anaplasma, commonly known as sow sickness. These again are found throughout the provinces, because the vectors are also widely distributed across the country. Now to dwell a little bit more on why we had this outbreak and the challenges why the country might have failed to control the outbreak. Other than the fact that it takes time to eradicate tick-borne diseases, it's actually we had a lot of illegal movements by farmers, and this resulted in a lot of spread of the tick-borne diseases. So the legal movements resulted in the movement of Kenya animals, especially otaliosis, which was there again causing the spread of the disease. And again, movement of pigs, because regulations stipulate that only animals that are sick could move. So when animals move illegally, we end up having a problem of spread of the infected tick. The other problem was misconception by farmers. When the animals started dying, the farmers thought that the animals were dying because they were going to the detail. So they stopped coming to the detail, and this actually worsened the situation. So we have to come in with a lot of education on the farmers on the disease pattern. Then the other problem was water supply is different, especially in the southern provinces, because of disruption, the tipping program, and again, the dilapidated tipping infrastructure, which is now being addressed. Then maybe we move on to say where exactly was another problem that the big problem that was facing was that we had legislation in place to control tick and tick-borne disease, but the enforcement part of it was the problem because the legislation clearly says that animals, it is mandatory for animals to be. If someone does not bring the animals to the detail, they can be prosecuted for that. And also, if someone moves animals that are ticket, they can also be prosecuted for that. So the lack of enforcement was another driver or a cause for us not to quickly contain the diagnosis outbreaks and that for that tick-borne disease. Again, as I mentioned, that we had a big problem in 2017, 2018, where we had a disruption in the supply of this chemical by the government to the community. Another, that brought now a case for trying to change the model that we are using for GTM, where people actually go to the GTM and only pay an equivalent of $2 per year per animal to say, can we change that model for farmers to actually run the tipping programs themselves? So this was piloted, the sustainable tipping model was piloted in 28 of the cities in the country, and with good results. It was a huge success in the southern provinces where they rely mainly on livestock for a livelihood. But in the maternal provinces where they sometimes practice rain-fed agriculture or crop production, this was rejected by the farmers. They actually chose the government model and the teaching. Another problem that we are having is acaricide resistance, where we are now encouraging farmers to frequently change acaricide. Over reliance on one particular acaricide, will eventually lead to acaricide resistance. In Zimbabwe, we have been using basically 2 acaricides for the last 30 years, which is antitrust and the government system. And this is a risk factor for the development of acaricide resistance. At the moment, we don't have a lot of resistance, but we are picking, some resistance in certain areas. So that is the cause of concern. Now that's through the interventions by governments to address the situation or to address the situation. Government then instituted intensive care routine, where in Thailand hospitals, we are actually using the 554 regime, which will actually mean animals will be priced in 2 weeks. And then also government is also introducing 2 manufacturing of acaricide So this local production of acaricide actually lower the cost of acaricide to make it accessible to a lot of farmers. Then again, there was introduction of the presidential seed risk program, which was giving communal farmers 1 kg of seed risk. And this was to complement the different and targeting the preservation side for the triangular sector, which is the ground EHC. Then there's been massive kitchen rehabilitation construction. In 2021, about 410 kitchens were constructed in the country, and this year we are targeting 500 kitchens. Then another intervention by government to address the situation was the capacitation of veterinary safety staff with motorcycles and tablets. So this was to improve, farm visit, disease surveillance, and to improve the reporting. Then government is also supporting with alternative control strategies and also supporting in the seed distribution making. Then again, as I mentioned earlier, the enforcement of keeping and movement regulations has been strengthened. And now, if someone moves an animal illegally, they can actually lose the animal, they can be destroyed without compensation. And then the engagement of local leadership, the chief management in the different program for them to monitor and actually encourage farmers to bring animals to the different has been a game changer. So all these interventions eventually has led to an improvement in the situation. I think the slide will show that the interventions have been good. So, as you can see, the blue line represents the cattle death in 2022, and then the light green is 2020, dark green is 2021. So there has been a massive improvement in the situation of late because of the interventions that have been put in place. I thank you.
Well, that was a mouthful. I think it's a big. Would require the whole day to discuss, capture all points. But what I learned from him was he talked about exotic stability, like walking on the wire. You know how people can balance as they walk on the wire. You can easily go either way. You mentioned about the big four borne diseases that are responsible for the most of the cattle mortality in this country. You mentioned one of the disease, very important is January disease. I remember we're talking about it in one of the cycles, it's still January disease or January December disease. We talked about the challenges that we face in the country in terms of implementing control for tick and tick-borne diseases. That was the mouthful, Dr. Spargo. Thank you very much for your presentation. Can we give him another round of applause? I think questions will come at the end. We are running out of time. We need to move on to the next presentation. The next presentation is coming from Professor Valu Warren. By training, he is a veterinary parasitologist. He is the person that walks the talk in terms of ticks, in terms of acaricides. Acaricides were derived from acarines, ticks. These are drugs that are used to kill acarines. She walks the talk of protozoology, specifically with Theileria parva. So we will allow them to walk us through the tick control strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Faculty of Veterinary Science, we were called by the nation to serve the nation in guiding on providing academic leadership to craft the national tick control strategy, which he is going to present. Over to you, Professor Owen.
Are you going to be? How do I move up and down?
It's simple. Forward, backwards.
Okay.
So, 10 minutes of presentation, 5 minutes.
I'll try.
Thank you.
Okay, morning everyone. Yeah, I think introduction has been done and all I'm going to say is all protocol observed. The first bit is on introduction. I think he did a lot of that, so I'm going to skip quite a number of slides here. So the presentation is on the tick-borne disease control strategy for Zimbabwe.
Right, it's not. Sure.
No. I think well that has been said. Well, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the approach to the development of the strategy. I think as part of the efforts to improve tick and tick-borne disease control, the DVS got some funding from this SAFE project, funded mostly by the EU for development of the strategy under FAO technical supervision. The work was initially to review tick-borne disease situation in Zimbabwe, and then using data, of course, that is found in a DVS disease database. Then the current tick-borne disease control policy for Zimbabwe, and contrast it with policies of regional countries, and then finally develop a tick-borne disease control strategy and have, a lot of stakeholder input. So we had like 4 or 5 workshops where we actually had stakeholder input. The findings, I think we have all heard about that, and of course, Theileria parva they being because of January disease, but we also have another disease there which is known as corridor disease, where the Theileria parva comes from the buffalo, the African buffalo. So those are the major tick-borne diseases there in Zimbabwe, the vectors that actually transmit. And then this is just to show you the situation with tick-borne diseases. Because I remember in 1995 to 2005, we looked at tick-borne disease outbreaks, using that same data in Zimbabwe. And you can see, the tick-borne disease problem was actually quite low when you compare it to what has been happening recently. So definitely there is a problem there, a huge problem. And then those are, presented that, and this is just, I did this for Theileriosis, just to show you the cases and the deaths between 2014 and 2020. And you can see that we're not doing very well. In the last few years, we've not been doing very well. And then another concern now with Theileriosis, as you can see, it's still a major disease during the peak rainy season, when we have a lot of, the adult ticks that are the more efficient vectors. But of course, we are also starting to see, we have those outbreaks that are actually appearing in the drier season, supposedly the dry season, where we are supposed to have hardly any outbreaks, but it can happen because there can be nymphal transmission there. And of course, if we are failing to control the adult ticks, effectively during the rainy season, then of course, we're actually going to have quite a lot of, the neutral ticks as well that are then causing these other outbreaks, that are occurring off season, but it can happen. And I suspect it was mainly due to the poor tick control. And then control of tick-borne diseases in the region, it's based on the same principles as ours, acaricide application to control the tick. So I hope we can all see the problem with the over-reliance on acaricide, because we have that. And then the lack of prompt access to diagnosis and treatment as well is what causes some of the, of those high mortalities. Legislation is there, but inadequate, and enforcement is very weak. And then we focus on cattle as well, only. But we have other diseases, for instance, heart water, which also affects, the small ruminants. And then tick-borne disease vaccines, they are available, but they are largely used by commercial farmers due to their cost and complexity in the way they are produced in the delivery systems. And then some of the highlights there, things that were different in regional countries, in the countries around us, was tick control in all sectors in the countries around us is actually mostly by the farmer. The government have said, that has nothing to do with us, including in the smallholder, communal sector, etc. The farmers have to do the tick control themselves. And then there is also uncoordinated acaricide use, in smallholder communal sectors and traditional sectors in those countries that has actually led to a more pronounced, acaricide resistance, development, which is one thing that Zimbabwe does, at least the documented, evidence is not there. In Zimbabwe, we still have very, very low acaricide resistance development because government has been controlling, a lot of the supply of goods, etc. So to a large extent, it has been done very well. And the only documented evidence of acaricide resistance in Zimbabwe is actually to the decorators. So we are at an advantage here. Of course, we are starting to see other things, some aspects, very, very minimal in comparison to the regional countries. This table was just to show some of the economic losses that can actually be caused by tick-borne diseases. And of course, this is done by economists. And I managed to get, some of this work that was done by UNV. I remember we participated in, in some of that work. And as you can see, most of the losses in as far as tick-borne diseases are concerned, they come perhaps from the acaricide costs there, which actually takes, a lot of the money. So there's a lot of money that is going into acaricides. And then, of course, if people have daily cattle, then those cattle also tend, to suffer more. So we need, more of such studies, in the current situation, because there are a lot of changes that have happened. So the strategy there, the objective was just to develop a sustainable national tick-borne disease control strategy. And then the strategy is actually aligned to the national development agendas like the Zimbabwe Comprehensive, Agricultural Policy Framework, Zimbabwe Livestock, Growth Plan. And the idea is just to minimize the occurrence of tick-borne diseases. The strategy is supposed to be evidence-based, so decisions should be evidence-based. They should be localized solutions, robust community engagement, and public-private sector partnerships. as well where it's possible. The strategy is also not meant to be static, it should be dynamic. Yeah. So what are the strategic interventions? I think there are like 11 of them. And then what you see on the left is the current situation. So it just shows, perhaps the challenges that we picked up, and then how to address, some of those challenges so that we are better able to control those tick-borne diseases. The current situation in strategic intervention one, which is about, prompt disease diagnosis and provision of early treatment. The current situation is that is lacking, particularly in the very, very remote communities. That is very, very lacking. So there should be, we should move towards, improving that, and then, I think there is some movement towards that, whereby, the extension workers out there are actually able to get into communities. They are mobile, so mobility has to be improved. And then, of course, the prompt access to curative medication, that's something that is still lacking out there in the community. Then, of course, confirmatory diagnosis, just by simple microscopy that is lacking, and we need to do that because it's very, very important. The second intervention is on effective integrated tick control. Over-reliance on, current status, over-reliance on acaricides. It's problematic because it is very, very costly. And when we run out of money, like we often do nowadays, then we have problems. But it's not only about the money, it's about problems like selection for resistance to these chemicals that we use. We also want to reduce the buildup of residues, that get into the environment. We don't want that. We also want to reduce, we also want to create finally azotic stability. If we overdip animals, they have very few ticks on them, then we disturb the azotic stability, because the animals will be very, very susceptible. And I think that is what is happening now. They're very susceptible, net now. So it's coming, to tick-borne disease. So the idea is to adopt, tick control strategies there that, reduce reliance on acaricides. I could go through all of them, but we don't have the time. And I think one thing that I want to highlight at the end is part of the long-term strategic plan there is to promote the use of animal hybrids, with resistant traits to ticks and tick-borne diseases. It's something that we often forget about. We are worried more about the productivity of the animal, the high productivity. But we forget that we also have a lot of these diseases here. But, some of the breeds that we have here, they actually have some resistance to a lot of the diseases, including tick-borne disease and ticks as well. I'm sure a lot of you that have animals on a farm, if you look at drum and cattle, they hardly have ticks on them. Hardly. There were very, very few ticks on them. It's some of those, traits that we actually need to, to exploit. Then the third intervention is to increase the participation there and the ownership, by the community. I think that is very, very important. Because now the farmers, they are not fully participating. They expect somebody else to do. So we need to start there whereby communities, actually participate. They are able to organize themselves, the organizational skills, and then besides that, the financial contribution, because those are very, very important. And then those contributions, they actually have to be reviewed, regularly to ensure that, the money that is provided is actually sufficient. Then strategic intervention number 4 is about the involvement of the private sector. I think it's very important. The private sector has to participate because they have the financial resources and then sometimes the know-how as well. So involve all the players along the livestock, value chain, private vets, livestock, energy suppliers, milk and milk, product distributors, buyers, animal breeders, livestock buyers, abattoirs, and farmers associations. I think all those people, can, be involved either in delivery of essential services, in a DBS or public, owned facility, or in development of infrastructure, or in a combination, of the two. And then intervention 5 is on surveillance. I think that is important. Currently, the DBS has the passive surveillance, which of course can be improved on, because I don't think all the information is filtering through. And then of course, the active surveillance is to a large extent, lacking. And we need that because active surveillance actually allows us to address specific issues that we might actually want to address. So there is need for enhanced active surveillance, like determination currently of the new status of the national health. And then of course the livestock keep survey as well, things like that. Then 6 is on legislation. I think that is also important. The legislation needs a review. And I'm happy to say that the reviews are actually, in motion. They are happening because they need to happen. Because, if the legislation is not working and enforcement is not tight enough, then we are going to have a problem. Number 7 is on vaccination. All I can say about vaccinations, about tick-borne diseases, they are very tricky vaccines. They are live vaccines produced in animals. 3 of them, if you look at the vaccines for anaplasma, babesia, hatch water, they're actually blood-based vaccines. You actually get our blood from animals, and then that is what we use to vaccinate. And there are a lot of problems with that. So the vaccines are, very crude vaccines, but they work. So and there's hesitation as well about their widespread use. I think they can actually help, especially in raising that, embryonic stability. And then human resource and capacity building. That's very important because right now there's a problem, inability to retain highly skilled staff, mentorship of people, and then succession plans in terms of management. I think that is very, very important, and I think it applies to a lot of institutions in this country at the present moment. So human resources and capacity building, and then infrastructure and equipment as well. Improve on that deteriorating infrastructure and replace the obsolete. Then research, of course. We want research which is coordinated, and then perhaps which is more problem solving. And then finally the funding, which is a challenge, it's inadequate. But you can tap into the private sector besides the money that is coming from government, which of course is limited, and then the farmer contribution. And then those international bodies, often nowadays they come in, they see that you are also trying to raise funds, some funds on your own. And yeah, I think that's it. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Owen, for that presentation. I will not attempt to summarize in the interest of time. Can we give you another round of applause? Thank you very much. I send that, the MC reading on my bag in terms of questions and question time. We can quickly take two, or maybe we can forgo our tea and one speaker that side. Can you please say out your name so that we know who you are, where you're speaking for the audience? We start with the executive director here.
Thank you for those presentations. Presentations. The question on this is deep thinking. It looks so okay. Is that what they do in Europe and like the way they have millions of people? Do they do this thing? Or this is for Africa?
Should we answer or should we wait for?
Wait. We take another question.
Oh, thank you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed the presentations. I've got two quick questions, or one is a comment. When I visited a few rural areas last year, either attending funerals or something, I've often heard councillors or chiefs making announcements about members of the public or communities going to water intake or to get water from somewhere to put in deep tank. And obviously those that do not participate will not be allowed to have their animals dipped. The first presenter talked about a legislative instrument for punishing or prosecuting people who don't send their cattle for dipping. How reliable and sustainable is this approach of using communities for sort of surrendering the power and decision community? To Professor Owe, I just wanted to find out whether there's been any attempt to use IKS or indigenous knowledge system in finding perhaps lasting solution.
In the interest of time, thank you very much, Professor Mashiri, for your comment and question. In the interest of time, I allow our presenters to respond.
Yeah, the use of deep tanks, I think, is actually the most economic way of controlling ticks, in poor communities. Yeah, where you are having lots of animals, I think the most efficient way of doing it is using deep tanks, because the other methods they're actually expensive. The other methods don't work. If for instance, you look at the use of pour-ons, they're expensive, that is one, but they're actually very, very efficient, but they are expensive. But the use of deep tanks, that is why they are used because you are having lots of animals and perhaps the resources are not, that are available. But even if you look at some of the developed countries, if you go to Australia, if you go to a lot of the South American countries, these tropical areas where ticks are a problem, there's lots of cattle as well. they use deep tanks actually, because they are the most, it's the most economic way of actually. Sorry.
Economic for the poor, don't have a problem.
No, even, I mean, if you look at Australia, it's not that poor, but they use deep tanks quite a lot. If you go to Queensland, where they are having, lots of ticks, lots of tick-borne disease problems, they still have deep tanks because they realize it is actually the most, efficient way of actually doing it. Here, it can be a challenge in areas perhaps where you have certain times of the year when there is water shortage. Yeah, there are areas of Matabeleland where, it can be a problem during the time when it is very, very dry and there is no water. But that is when they can then use these other methods, like pour-ons, etc. And then what you were asking about filling up the deep tank. Yeah, it's something that communities have been doing. But I think one of the things that that is addressed in this strategy is perhaps to have, a water source close by, each deep tank, so that people don't have to keep, carrying water. And we actually have some community projects in Matabeleland South that are doing very well. They've actually managed to raise their own money. They've actually managed to construct permanent water supplies, etc. Buy a carry side like for 6 months up to a year, in advance. So it can happen. And then the use of IKS for control of ticks. I think we did some work here with some colleagues in the Faculty of Agriculture. Yeah, and there were quite a number of plants that were actually identified, by communities. And we actually did some, experimental work here where we tried to use them to control ticks. And we realized that, well, they do offer some, tick control, but it's no way close to the commercial product can actually be. But you can, yeah. There are some plants, that do have effect against ticks, and other ectoparasites. And I think.
Thank you very much, Professor Owe, for responding to them. Please, let's give a round of applause to ourselves.
Before we conclude, let me say something. Thank you. I would like to thank the presenters for those who thank you, Dr. Chibenda and Professor Wade and Dr. Sprackle. It's really a very important topic of issue, the antimicrobial resistance and the tick-borne disease. So I just want to say, because we all have an interest in it, and we all want good meat from a healthy source, but this is not just limited to those who are meeting the so-called carnivores, but also the vegetarians, they want clean eggs, they want clean milk. But aren't we also getting some of these resistant, microbial resistance from this food? Because you over-vaccinate these animals. I remember when we were keeping broilers at some stage, I ended up not wanting to eat chicken because of the intensity of vaccination which goes on. Where does it all end up to? And then the other issue I just wanted to comment on the issue of the illegal cattle movements. Maybe we also need to understand what we mean by illegal. If I go to the police station and get clearance, then move the cattle, does that mean that all the diseases remain behind because I've got clearance? And I'm saying why the movement, people move their cattle because they want to move to better pastures, like in Matabeleland, I've seen that happening. They want to get better water sources. And my son wants to get to pay his rora. He has to move from Bonilima to Mutoko. You know, that's a movement. Some are repairing Ngozi, others are relocating, and then they theft, the actual the thieves themselves, and also the owner of the cattle asked to be right, and now they feel, oh no, I have to move my cattle. You know, all those things. So maybe also needs, like Dr. Chirenda said, we need to include the social scientists and everyone else on board when we conduct some of these studies. And then lastly, I thought you, Prof. Matata, the strategy, the University of Zimbabwe was invited to participate. I did not see any usage logo on Prof's presentation. Maybe because like the activities say, and the donors are more important than they stand out. But anyway, but I think we need to correct that. Otherwise, thank you for the strategy. And I hope those strategies which are coming out will be rolled out sooner than later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Executive Director, Research and Innovation. At this point in time, allow me to hand over the proceedings to the Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Malambi. We apologize for taking too much time. Thank you for the time. Thank you very much.
That's really comfortable today. Hopefully, thank you for making our morning very profitable. Propaganda, and we sense an element of Indian consciousness there on the Diva. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to take a short tea break. Allow me to make the following announcements, even as we move in that direction. Student presenters, please see Gloria at the SU building for your meal tickets. We're going to have our teas and lunches at the SU building, and for that, you will need to see a lady called Gloria. She will give you the tickets, and then our exhibitor. Immediately after tea, we are required at the Innovation Hub. I understand in the morning, some of our judges went to your stands, and some of our exhibitors are not there. So please proceed to the Innovation Hub after tea. And then after tea, we're going to have a parallel station number 8 and 9. Parallel station number 8 will be here in the Diamond Lecture Theatre, and the themes for that section are One Health, Emerging and Reimagining Diseases, Global Pandemics, and Climate Change. And that will be chaired by Mrs. Anna Nyamakura. And then parallel session number 2 will be at the Innovation Hub auditorium. And the theme there is intelligence and sustainable crop and livestock production technologies. And Dr. P.F. Mbambile will be the chair. And then in the afternoon, our parallel session starts at 2 sharp, same place. Refer to your program for the theme. And then in the evening, later, tonight, starting at 5 p.m., we are going to have a high-level dialogue, number 7, on the enhancement of tourism destination quality beyond COVID-19. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's proceed for tea in our usual places. Dr. Chikono, if you could lead VIPs, the way they're going to get their keys. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of the program, enjoy the session later on.